Well, it's time to take some of that rusty metal parts we've made and we're going to apply them to the car. And this is where you can really be creative and kind of make your cars unique. Creek cars went through several different changes and additions, and every one of them was different. I imagine as they came in and needed repairs, they just did whatever it took to get it running again. So I really don't know if there was any two cars that were even identical on the Creek. I use a couple different resources for inspiration. A lot of them come from the West Virginia narrow gauge Creek Railway book, and there's several pictures in there that show Creek hopper cars, different modifications to them here. Show you just a couple that I looked at here. In like this photo here, you can see on these corner angles, this one's got two bolts and a nut, or two bolts and a bolt on this side, whereas this one actually has just two diagonal. This one has a short piece of steel spanning just above the door. The one next to it's got a full-length piece of steel. Kind of comes with this book here. Here's a good page. This one here has, try to get the glare off of there. This car has the full piece of steel above the door. It has steel coming down the sides. It has a steel door. It has, if you can see those there, there's some rods that go through the door to probably hold it together. Corner braces up here. Piece of steel that came across the end here. There's a piece of steel here. If you look down here, this car's got a lot more steel. This whole end is steel, but yet it's got a wood door, and this piece only comes across so far, and there's a piece of rod here, more rods in the door. It's only got two bolts on the corner on that one, where this one has three bolts. This one's got two. So there's a lot of things you can do different, just whatever kind of gets you going at the moment to take it as far as you want. Now, if you're doing an early car where you don't have the steel on top, you didn't make an angle, and you're just gonna skip that part. So I'm just gonna kind of show you. I'm just gonna get creative on this car and just make it, put some of the different things that we see here. I'll show you how I do that. Okay, to start out, I'm going to start with my angle around the top because I need to have that on there so I can get the door hinges on. If you're not putting any of the steel reinforcing on there, then you can just skip ahead to where I go to install the door hinges. But for me, I'm going to put some reinforcing on here, and I need to have that on because the door hinges go on top of all that. So the first thing I do is I just start with an angle, and I just take the one end and I just clean it up real quick here. I just square it up using my chisel blade here. So I just got a nice squared off edge on there. And I'm just going to glue that on the car by doing the method with the, again with the Loctite control gel. I'm just going to take and dab on some glue here. I'm just going to kind of concentrate it up on the top edge. The angle will kind of work itself out. So I'm going to do a little bit on the top of this side, and then the top of this, and then on the top of this. Just using my little dots. I'm going to put them on the top edge here a little bit. getting it on there if I wasn't trying to keep it in front of the camera. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to glue this so that the face is just a little bit past the end of the car. I'm just going to push it, I'm just pushing it kind of tight on this point to get that all nice and worked into the car here. I'll just hold it there for a second while all that kind of dries. Okay, now I'm just going to clean off this one corner here. So I'm just going to stick this down on the bench here, and I'm going to get my straight edge razor. I'm just going to clean that off. Just so it's square. And I'm going to do the other side here too. Actually, I'm going to do 2 cuts. I'm using my big chisel. I'm going to go 1 cut down on the face here. And I'm going to flip it over and get the again, I get the chisel to the back there, or the back of the chisel towards the car. And I'm just going to cut that off. Just bust that off. So that'll look like that. Now the ends I'm going to cover with those metal reinforcing so they don't have to be really good looking. I just make sure they're square to the car here. Just like that. Now on the top, I'm going to have to make a 45-degree cut in that corner. And the way I do that is I just take my razor blade and I go from the corner of this angle into the corner of the inside of the car. Just like that. Now it's kind of hard to see, but what you want to do when you're making this, putting this angle on is, because we made this angle out of 2 pieces of styrene that were the same width, what ends up happening, and this will exaggerate it so you can see what I'm talking about, is that your angle is actually an unequal length angle. It's going to be narrower here than it is this way. I'm taking the tall side and that's going on the side of my car, and this short side is the part that's up on the top here. And you want to keep that in mind as you go around so that the angle is the same height all the way around the car. So it's pretty important that you maintain that same procedure all the way around the car. So when I get my second piece of angle on here, I got to make sure, and it's sometimes hard to see, but you'll know after you get a piece on there, when you put it on there, which is the right side, because it will be too short the other way. So you see that side's going to be too short. If I put the other side on there, you can see it's going to match up a lot better. So then this one, then I just take a piece of scrap wood that we used. I'm going to just cut a 45 on the top of this. I'm going to clean up, make it square here. So we got a nice clean piece, and I'm just going to eyeball this at about 45. I'm going to hold it on my car. See how close. See, I'm not even close on that one, so I'm going to just keep trimming that one to shape until I get it I gotta come back. So I wasn't quite at 45. Almost there. And now you can see I got the pieces to fit pretty good on there. So I'm going to glue that on, and then I'll just clean this edge off here, and I'll just keep doing that all the way around the car. So we'll just keep working around until you get to the last one.